Hello, welcome to QUIZZY Monday, second QUIZZY Monday of the year. I can't believe we're already cracking on into January. Now, we had three great shows tonight, and we're really delighted to have Holly Parkinson from Mastermind with us tonight. We'll be bringing her on in just a second. But first, a reminder that we are got the World Quiz Awards. We're in the last sort of 24 hours or so of voting for the World Quiz Awards. Let me just play you a very quick trailer for that. Voting in the World Quiz Awards 2022 closes very soon. Join us on Sunday, the 15th of January, for the awards ceremony to find out who wins. Yes, so don't forget to vote, and don't forget that we will email you by return, and you have to confirm your vote for your vote to be counted. We so far had quadruple the number of votes we had last year, so it's all going very well, very exciting. Some of the races are very, very tight indeed. And last night we had our All Things Quiz members quiz, which was very enjoyable. A team quiz looking back at 2022 and a little bit forward to 2023. And if you want to be a member of All Things Quiz, well, then all you have to do is sign up. But for now, I want to say thank you to our members. So there we have it. If you want to join, membership starts at £3 a month. We have a quiz every week. There's all sorts of other benefits of membership. Thank you very much to Paul, our most recent member. So we've got a bunch of people in the comments saying hello. Gerard says hello. Will G says hello. Catherine says she's back. Don't know where you went, Catherine. Simon says hello. Paul, welcome, Paul. And John, who was on the show last week, says, who is joining the show this evening? Well, I'm going to bring her on. It is fresh from Mastermind, Holly Parkinson. Evening, Holly.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Good to have you on the show again. It was you came as part of was it a Durham gang last time?
Yes, it was. Yeah, University Challenge. Yeah.
So now you braved it as a solo guest, and it is great to have you on.
Thank you.
And Mastermind, what possessed you to go on Mastermind?
Honestly, I saw that they were looking for applications and I thought, why not? I really didn't think it would happen though. I think I was probably quite tipsy at the time. And thought, yeah, I'll apply. And then it kind of got quite far. And it was one of those things that you just sort of hear back from it and you think, okay, I'll fill in this bit of information for the next stage, not really thinking much of it, I guess, like not thinking it's actually going to happen. And then it did happen.
And you're a PhD student, as we learned on the show. So you spend all day, every day studying, at least in theory. I mean, I've met plenty of PhD students. But you know, that's and then you chose to go on a show where you have to then do studying in the rest of your spare time. How do you balance the two without kind of driving yourself loopy?
Good question. How do I balance the two? Probably incorrectly. I mean, no one ever knows how you meant to do whatever amount of which, but I don't know. I think it's because I genuinely enjoy it. It doesn't really feel like I think it's good to have a specialist subject, right? Because I guess then you can revise something that you're either good at or you're really passionate about or you really enjoy. So I didn't really see it as like much of a chore, I guess. It's just sort of if it's books if it's a series of books that you like, you can read the books and presumably you know a lot about the books because you like them. So yeah, it's not an unpleasant study experience. Not that the PhD is unpleasant, obviously.
No.
That as well.
So what is your PhD, just for the record?
It's particle physics.
Okay, so not a million miles then from Stephen Hawking. You picked him, particular hero of yours, or?
Yeah, he's just a fantastic sort of canon of work. I don't think no one's ever's described a physicist as having a canon of work, but now someone has. Fantastic. I mean, one of the real sort of modern greats of physics. So,
but somebody who packed an awful lot into his life.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
a lot of very technical, very kind of dense and complicated stuff, which thankfully as a particle physicist, you know, hopefully you'll
Sure.
understand. But nonetheless, that gave that subject so much
Mm.
to cover. How did you go about getting on top of it?
I think I did find, like you're saying, that there were a lot of aspects to it because obviously when you give the specialist subject as like a person,
Mm,
because obviously Stephen Hawking, not that sort of old, not
mm,
too far from history. Um, there is we know lots about his life.
mm,
He's been on TV and stuff like that, rather than
yeah,
sort of someone like, I don't know, Galileo. You'd know
mm,
about his science less than his sort of actual life.
mm,
So there are like lots of different aspects, and obviously he was sort of a celebrity. So yeah, there was a lot to learn. How did I go about looking at it? I don't know. I guess I tried to spread the revision evenly in
mm,
terms of sort of like physics content and sort of more sort of background content, thinking
yeah,
that obviously you don't know what the questions are going to be, right? Just sort of assuming
mm.
that it's going to be a mix of both.
Did you make a conscious decision that then they're not going to ask you about, you know, complete this formula from page 65 of his doctoral thesis? So did you kind of
Yeah,
decide to go on the more populist kind of angle?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't think I did. I think there were moments when I was thinking, I used to have this thing when revising for like exams, like GCSE exams. I remember doing this, thinking it's just like it's the way that it is that if there's something that you don't revise, thinking, oh,
Mm,
it's not going to come up, that will come up.
mm,
And obviously, yeah, sure, they weren't going to ask about sort of details of the thesis, but I was really scared to leave. If I came across something that I wasn't aware of, I didn't want to be like, oh, they're not going to ask me about that because it felt like tempting fate.
mm.
So I mean, I would have, I don't know, I wouldn't have been petrified of equations, but I don't think they'd have, yeah, nothing that specific.
Yeah. I mean, I've noted a few things down when you were doing a specialist subject. There was the Bantam books, and I guess it's
Yeah.
kind of that there was a little bit of a glimmer of a facial kind of reaction of to
Uh-huh.
that of I don't know. It felt to me as okay that I guess I should know that, but didn't feel like it
Probably
had
because
come
I
up
have the
perhaps.
book and have
Yeah,
probably seen the name of the publisher.
but
It's
you
like
don't
that
necessarily register it, do you?
I guess
Because you're
that's why it's a
focusing on
specialist subject, right? Like
yeah.
it's gonna be things like that that you
Mm,
don't tend even if you are like a fan of a
mm,
thing,
yeah.
you don't necessarily register it. Like music. So Ishmael
Mm,
did Radiohead was really good. And I thought about putting down like an artist that you like as a specialist
yeah.
subject. But even if you know sort of all of their songs and
Mm,
everything off by heart, they're going to be asking questions about things behind the scenes, like
mm,
who who they are in their personal life and sort of who produced this record or whatever.
mm.
And yeah, it's
So no
heavy.
complaints then about the set that you got?
No, I mean, I think it was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself. I think quizzing should be good
Yeah.
fun.
Excellent. Gerard says, he met Stephen Hawking briefly when he
Oh
came to
wow.
Oxford. Your paths didn't cross with him at any point?
No,
Oh,
I've been in a building that he was in at the same time, but we
hmm.
weren't in the same room. But we've been in vicinity, but
I
I've
I
never
can
met him.
I could say that as well. I was working at the Royal College of
Really?
Surgeons when he came and gave a lecture, and you never
Oh,
guess what? One of my colleagues came up and said, "You never guess who was downstairs? It was Stephen Hawking." It's like you didn't think to kind of tell anybody else
that's
he
the
was
that's the
in the
best.
building.
You never guess who I just saw, isn't it? Because you're expecting like, oh yeah, my aunt or whatever. You're not expecting Stephen Hawking, are you?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, particularly in a medical Royal College. But there you go, it
Oh,
happens.
excellent.
Now, Catherine's got a nice little snippet here. Remember, Stephen Hawking been on Desert Island Discs saying his luxury item would be creme brulee, the epitome of luxury, he
Yeah,
said.
excellent. He
Ah,
was he was known for having like a really, really good sense of humor. Everyone
mm,
says that when they sort of met him, he was always like really funny,
mm,
and quite like outspoken politically as well.
yeah. Now, I've done a couple of biographical subjects when I've been on Mastermind. And I kind of get almost I don't know if possessive is the word or protective probably rather than that, you know,
Uh-huh.
when you kind of get really absorbed in them and you find
Mm.
yourself liking them more and more and
Yeah.
more. Do you find that kind of by the time you're in going to studio, it's like, okay, I've really got to do him justice, and you
Yes.
know, then you find yourself kind of advocating for
Yeah.
him in
No.
all sorts of
Absolutely.
situations. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think in my mind, I thought sort of originally, would that feeling be worse if it was somebody who was alive
Mm,
and they could potentially watch it? But then you think maybe it feels actually more poignant if they're no longer with us,
mm,
and it's sort of about like doing their legacy justice. But
yeah.
yeah, no, I do agree with you. Who were some of your biographical?
Oh, I mean, I did Herbert Chapman, a football manager. I had his nephew in the audience when I
Oh
did that one,
wow,
so there was a little bit of pressure. Erasmus Darwin, he was long dead.
nice.
Did
Hmm.
I do any? Oh, Augustus Pugin as well,
Oh, there you go.
long dead. So actually, yeah, mine were all dead because I kind of took the view that actually, you know, from birth to death, you've got a nice contained subject. You know,
True. Yeah.
you kind of know there's not going to be any more happening.
And if you
Um,
memorize when they died, you can answer the question, when did they died? When did
indeed,
they died? When did they
indeed.
die? Wow, sorry. Yeah.
Indeed. Didn't come up as it turned out. But yes, so I did those, and I did enjoy them, but I did feel that sort of thing of, wanting to do them justice, feeling that I was kind of almost their ambassador, and
Yeah, like a
not.
spokesperson.
It's entertaining, but there's a bit of self-imposed pressure, and I think quizzes are very good at putting
Yeah.
pressure on themselves. Um, how did you feel it went? You had a little sticky patch in the middle.
Oh yes, I did. Yeah.
Really.
I think very much it's one of those things where you can lose momentum.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think I'm happy with how I did in
Mm,
general. I didn't apply thinking I'd even get on the show, let
mm,
alone end up on the show. So yeah, I didn't sort of winning never really crossed my mind. So it's not a case of sort of
okay.
I'm disappointed or whatever. I'm really happy with how I did, and I think I did when you're in the chair. I remember when the sort of the beep goes off, and I remember thinking I probably got, I don't know, 4 or 5, and then you
Mm,
realize that you got more than that, and it's yeah. No, I was happy with how I did. I
mm,
did better than I thought I'd do.
okay. Because the time goes like in a flash, doesn't it?
Oh my
It's like,
gosh, yes. It doesn't feel like 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes at all.
yeah, it's really the subjectivity of time, which I'm sure Stephen Hawking could have told us about as
Sure,
well.
it's all relative. Stephen Hawking. That's a
It
that's
is
a joke that
indeed.
my granddad always says. He always says it's all relative. That's what Stephen Hawking said. I think that's his knowledge of relativity.
Yeah. But it was actually quite a tight first round, with
Yeah,
William on 10, you on 9, Boxy on 8, and Ishmael on 6.
yeah.
With your sort of university challenge experience, you've got a decent general knowledge. Obviously, anything can
Thank
come up
you.
in Mastermind. Did you get any sense of what the other players were like? Did you get to chat to them beforehand and
We
find
did a
out?
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we mainly discussed specialist subjects more than anything
Mm,
because it's a good talking point, right? It's a good
yeah.
icebreaker of what's your specialist subject. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think we discussed much of sort of have you ever done this kind of thing before?
Mm.
And I still don't know actually for people. I mean, some of us went for a drink afterwards, and I couldn't. I could tell you what they do for a living,
Yeah.
but I don't know if this is sort of their first time quizzing or if they quiz like not
Mm,
not TV quizzing, but sort of just like even pub quizzing.
mm.
Um,
I mean, William, who ended up winning,
yeah.
is clearly very good and
Oh,
very
he's
intelligent,
excellent.
isn't he?
Yeah, he's
Yeah. I
fantastic,
mean,
and he's such a lovely guy as well. They were all really lovely people.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he did well, did best in his specialist subject round, and then just brilliantly in
His
his
general
general
knowledge was
knowledge.
good. Yeah.
So we had somebody on the other week who said actually being well beaten was actually preferable to like missing out by a point. Did you kind of
Sure. I
feel
think
that way?
yeah, I know what you mean. I
Mm,
think yeah, I mean, he was excellent. He absolutely
mm,
deserved to win.
mm.
Um, I realize I'm not that competitive. I think yeah, no, no. Um, I was happy with how I did. I didn't
Mm,
think I'd do that well.
mm.
And I mean, in my head, I sort of thought if I get more than sort of 14, 15, I'll kind of be
Okay.
happy, and I did. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and that's great as well because a lot of people do put pressure on themselves.
yeah,
I've got to get to the semis. I've got to get
sure,
to the final. I've got to do this, that, and the other. And I think with any quiz show, if you go in thinking if I can come away having enjoyed it and not kind of looked an absolute fool, then
yeah.
actually it's a win. Anything else is a bonus.
I'm kind of
Um,
glad that it wasn't my first rodeo of TV quizzing,
mm,
because it is like that whole kind of solo environment is much
mm,
more stressful. Like I always said I wouldn't do something like that because I'm not
Mm,
really a I don't massively enjoy being sort of in the limelight.
mm,
Obviously, I enjoy quizzing, and sometimes that's just kind of part of what happens. But I wouldn't consider myself like a performer or anything.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
so sorry for having you on your own tonight
no,
then.
it's okay. It's okay. I had
But
assumed there'd be other people. If it was, I think I would have been a lot more nervous and probably a lot more critical had that been the first quizzing thing I've ever done.
mm,
I think.
yeah, because it can be quite a lonely experience, and when I say lonely, you can have a
Mm,
lot of time to yourself with something like
yeah.
Mastermind, you know? Um, I don't know if there were still separate dressing rooms and stuff like that at the point
Sure,
which
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
filmed.
There's a
Um,
I don't know how much we can say about behind the scenes.
mm,
We haven't been said we haven't been told that we can't talk about behind the scenes, I guess.
yeah,
Um, we all sort of had to go into sort of dressing rooms to dress, and then we had like a separate dressing room each where they just sort of said,
mm,
"Oh, we'll come and get you in a minute." And then
mm,
you're kind of alone in a box when you think I think I called my mum and was like, "Oh, I'm really scared." And then obviously you've got your sort of I had a book that I'd been sort of
mm,
revising from as like a last minute, and I don't
mm,
know what other people were doing in their rooms. I
mm,
guess some people are very much of the don't believe in last minute revision kind of
mm,
theory. Um, Maybe some people were just concentrating on being calm or
mm.
whatever. But
But compare that with University Challenge when you've got those,
yeah,
you know, sometimes
nice.
hours of sitting around doing nothing. At
Yeah,
least you've got other people to be
yeah.
bouncing off in that sort of
And you get to hang
environment.
out with like production, and they are the
Mm,
loveliest people.
mm,
But yeah, no, and obviously like you're in a team for University Challenge as well.
mm,
I guess maybe because it's not maybe because I'm not massively competitive, and maybe
mm,
because it wasn't like the final or anything. The four of us were quite friendly. Like I think
mm,
it almost felt like it was a team. And when we had, I remember watching the camera really really closely because I'm pretty sure I remember every time someone walked back from the chair, we all sort of went, "Well done, well done," and they don't seem to have left that in the cut. I'm sure I
okay.
remember like giving someone a little like really quiet clap. Like we were all kind of like
Yeah.
nice to each other.
I
Not
guess
that
it's
not that
because
anyone was going to
sorry.
be nasty, but
No, but I think it's different, isn't it? With something like University Challenge
mm,
or to a degree Only Connect, you are competing directly with people trying to beat them to the buzzer and things
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
With Mastermind, it's you versus the questions you're dealt, and it's
yeah.
about how well you can deal with that, and you can't affect in any way the performance of somebody else.
I
It's
feel
all
like
about your own performance.
that's
Yeah.
why I've sort of like I didn't even though I didn't necessarily come top out of the 4, I feel happy with sort of how I did because it's kind of
Mm,
like a time trial kind of thing. Like regardless of
mm,
how you do like next to other people, you
mm,
scored like your score, and even the people that come sort of bottom of the 4 may still get like a really good score, and they've still sat for 2 minutes and
mm,
answered probably difficult questions
mm,
on a very niche or narrow subject. And
mm.
I think that's still something to be proud of. Like obviously, yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said. I mean, it's very easy when people are sat at home to be kind of having all sorts of judgments,
Mm,
but you need people who've got the guts to put themselves up in front of it, to put the work in, to
mhm.
because it is nerve wracking. But you know, filming day and all of that. You know, I've done quite a bit, and every time the nerves still kind of
Yeah.
get to me. Once I'm on set, you know things have their own
Oh no,
momentum, but
I'm a wreck for days.
yeah, it's so you know so. I think anybody who puts themselves up for that, you know,
Mm,
deserves sort of kudos and respect.
mm.
And anybody can have a bad day,
Yeah,
and you just hope it's not going to be your bad day. But
not
it, you
that
know,
day.
yeah, but it doesn't mean you know if somebody does that, you know, that they're necessarily a bad quizzer.
No,
And
sure,
even
and you
if
get people on the internet being like, "Oh, I can't believe they got that question wrong." But I mean, even watching it tonight and having forgotten the questions I was asked, there were some I knew then, and but
mm,
it's the pressure, isn't it? Unless
yeah,
I think you probably I've never talked to you about this, but if you're
mm,
sort of a regular on camera or on stage, perhaps,
mm,
I think you are at an advantage because you're
mm.
used to like performing under pressure.
I think you know when you think about a show like Jeopardy or something where you
Mm,
can be on it for week after week
yeah,
after week, there has to be an advantage to knowing what's ahead of you. You're not
yeah,
facing it for the
you've done
first
it
time.
before.
Yeah, it's not scary. You know, you and the only thing that can perhaps kind of trip you up, and it tripped me up on one show where I did multiple episodes in a day, is just being tired
Oh
by
my
the
gosh,
end
yeah.
and mentally fatigued.
Our final university challenge matches, I think we had, do we have 3 in a day? I don't know, but it was, yeah, by the end of the day, you are just tired, and it's just may the least tired team win, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is that element to it, but I say, as you say, when you've got a bunch of people, some of which may never have done TV before, and you've already got
Exactly.
5 episodes under your belt,
Uh-huh.
I think there is a home field advantage to that.
Yeah.
But we don't have many shows like that in the UK. Maybe something like Countdown, perhaps,
Yeah, you stay
where
on in Countdown, don't you?
yeah, I think up
Think.
until you win 8 shows, I think somebody will tell me
Oh,
I'm
really?
wrong if
There's a limit.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, because you become an Octo champ, and then I think you get into like the
Excellent.
end of season championship or
I like
something.
that.
Yeah, I mean anything Octo champ kind of almost makes you seem like some sort of Marvel superhero as well.
Like an
So
octopus.
yeah,
I'm trying to
yeah,
think, could they make it something to do with Countdown, like the clock? How many things are there on the clock? It would be sweet if it was sort of like 10 things on the clock and you have 10 or whatever. I don't know.
yeah. I mean it always bugs me. There was a show called 100% that some people watching will remember,
I feel like
where
it rings a
literally
bell.
it was Channel 5, and it was probably late 90s, early noughties, I would have thought.
Maybe.
And
Okay.
you basically had 100 questions. And so your final score was the percentage of questions you had right.
Oh, nice. Okay.
This one chap, Ian Ligo from Hemel Hempstead, got to 75 consecutive wins.
Oh, wow.
And, you're thinking, okay, is he going
What,
to get to 100?
100%,
Yeah.
100% 75 times?
Well, no, but he won 75 episodes of it, consecutive
Oh.
episodes. And so, he might have got 80% one week and in one day and 95 another,
Sure,
but
sure, sure.
he
But
won
beat the other
75 consecutive ones.
contestants.
Yeah. And I was thinking, well, surely when he gets to 100 shows for 100%, that'd be a nice MacGuffin. You
Nice,
know,
yeah.
you've won 100 on 100%. But no, they dropped him at 75.
No,
They said
that's so
viewers have got bored of
sad.
him. Yeah, and it still
They should have kept
rankles
him
with
going.
me.
He might not even have got to 100%. He might
He might not.
76 could have been his limit.
It could have been. And I used to tune in thinking, on the one hand, I really hope he gets to 100, but on the other hand, wow, I
Yeah.
want to also watch the episode he loses. So either way, it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
win-win
yeah.
for me. But TV
That
people are
could have been
funny.
fantastic. Oh no,
Oh,
that's always going to be a what if, isn't it?
I know, one of the great what ifs. One of these days, I'm going to hunt him down for the channel,
I
and
reckon he's out there.
he must be out there. He lives in Hemel Hempstead, which is not a million miles from. Well, he did back in then anyway. Not a million miles from here, and
How
I'll
old was
stalk
if
him and
he was
say,
sort of
"Does
if
it
he
rankle?"
was sort of 95 in the 90s, he might not be with us.
No. He was quite young. He was fantastic.
He'll probably still be
There we
around.
go. Gone
Someone
saying
must know him. They
they
changed the
actually
rules
changed
to
the
get him
rules
off
to
the
be able to.
show. That's like when you're the kid at school that's a bit too smart, and they're like, right, you have to do the timetables blindfolded or something.
Yeah, you scored 10 goals. Now you have to go in goal, and it's like
Yeah,
it's that
or like
kind
we're gonna tape one of your legs to the side of your body.
of- yeah. Oh dear. Yes. Michael's saying that they were asked at the end if they wanted to come back. Liked it once when somebody said
And they
no
said
thanks after they've been on a few shows. But that was one of these things, of course, that if they like filmed 5 in a day, but you had something you had to be in work the next day, you would
well, if
either
you're
have to lose
busy.
or turn them down.
Exactly.
Um, Yeah, 100% with Robin Houston's voice. You never saw the presenter. Literally, you saw the 3
Oh,
people,
really?
and
Maybe
you
I don't
just heard
remember
the
this.
voice. It's worth checking out
I think
because
it is very by possibly a couple of years before my time,
yeah,
but only
possibly
just. I think I've just missed this.
it's crying out for a revival.
Have they ever done
Uh,
reruns? Because I watched a lot of quiz show reruns as a child. That's not necessarily
yeah,
my choice. They were just always on.
yeah. I'm amazed it's not ever been on Challenge to my knowledge.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Challenge.
Yeah. Michael said only 100 quid for winning an episode. It was Channel 5
Yeah, but if you
cheapskates,
think
but
about inflation today, that will be what, 40 grand or something?
quite a wedge. Um,
Someone said
just
to me the other day, should Who Wants to Be a Millionaire keep up with inflation?
Well, that's a good question because obviously, who wants to be a millionaire? £1 million is still a lot of money.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not as
but
much as it was.
Eggheads, for example, was £1,000 an episode when it
Yeah.
started nearly 20 years ago. It's still £1,000 an episode.
Yeah.
Again, it's. I think that there should be some increases. Chris is saying there's some episodes. Oops, why's that coming?
Someone said, Simon said they did some questionable specials on the show.
Yeah. I
What do
don't
we
know why it
mean
won't
by
let me bring things up at the moment.
questionable?
Yeah, they did like 100% sex and 100% lates, and so they did some themed ones outside of the standard series. Yeah,
I hate it. Amazing.
I don't know why it's not allowing me to bring the
That's
comments up at the
awful.
moment. So
What? So
unfortunately,
the questions were about it was a special in that. Oh, I think he's disappeared. Hi everyone.
I'm back.
Oh,
I don't know.
he's back.
It's probably connected to the not being able to bring things up. So Holly, apologies for abandoning you
I
there.
just had a little moment there. That was my 15 seconds of fame.
Oh yeah, John's saying I remember the ABBA special.
I would
some bad things
pay
going
to watch
on.
that.
Yeah, it was. Steve was saying, "Keep talking,
Thank you,
Holly."
Steve.
Phil.
Thank you, Steve.
Oh dear. Yes. So no, it's 100.
ABBA special. That's what I want to do next. Then anything is an ABBA special.
I think they dressed up. Yeah, in ABBA gear.
I hope
Red
all of
Dwarf and
these are
Doctor
true.
Who. Then they got bizarre.
So hang on. So for accidents and stuff. So the ABBA special, other than being dressed as ABBA, does that mean the questions were about ABBA?
I can't remember. I think they
was
might
it a
have
special
been.
was it just like Imagine University Challenge, but everyone's dressed as a member of ABBA? Because I'd also pay for that.
I think the questions were themed as well.
Sure, because otherwise, how do you make it a special? Otherwise, it's just people wearing outfits.
Otherwise, yeah, it's just people dressed up. It's like the worst Halloween party ever.
Yeah, it's like sort of school. What was it? School non-uniform day. That's the phrase I'm looking for.
Except everybody comes looking the same, so it's a bit disappointing. So you need a Smurf and you need various different types of character if you're going to have that sort of thing. Yeah, Gerard is confirming all 100 questions were related to the Tophawk.
To the top.
Sorry, Gerard, I couldn't resist it. He does clarify.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, so
I wonder if you could like on Mastermind, if you could apply especially for like the ABBA one.
I think they would have recruited specially for it.
I think I'd have a better chance at the ABBA one than the normal one.
Yeah, I remember the Doctor Who one was Uber fans. So
it wasn't just sort of like a random person that applied to the show, and it was like, you're doing the Doctor Who special.
Yeah, sorry, you're not doing the main show where you can win quiz. We're going to do the Doctor Who one. You've got to wear a long scarf and a hat, and
Did you win a different prize, or was it still the £100?
I don't remember. There might even have been.
I have so many questions about this show.
Simon is saying they did a Diana episode in 1998.
As in Lady Di, like Diana
I'm assuming so. Probably question 100 was who killed her, but
whoa.
yes. Way. So yeah, oh my word. I didn't think we would be talking about this at the start.
If there's anything I want tonight, it's to go and watch the Diana episode of 100%. If that's not on the internet, it should be.
It's probably been suppressed by the royal family, just they wouldn't let that kind of go out anymore. And Gerard's saying we've gone off Tophawk. Yes,
we have gone off Tophawk.
Yeah, no, 100%. Oh, it feels like we want now turned into one of those podcasts. When you go, do you remember in the 1990s when they used to have this and that? And
they used to have 100%.
Yeah, we need some talking heads, Maya Jama to come along and tell us her memories of it. Jamie's we've gone off topic. Well, we are all watching all things quiz, indeed. 100%.
Right, Jamie.
100%. So yeah, one thing I loved. Let's get back to Mastermind briefly. I loved how you apologized each time you passed.
I think that's just me.
Sorry, pass.
Sometimes I apologize when I walk into a room. Yeah. I don't know, it's force of habit. I also noticed that I said thank you every time I left the chair.
Manners cost nothing. Good manners cost nothing. You've been well brought up. And
dragged up, but I was fine.
So I did enjoy that, and I also enjoyed a slight eye roll when the Sinclair question came up in your sticky period in your
My
general knowledge
moment,
round.
yeah.
It's like, oh, God's sake,
Yeah. A few
old
in a
tech,
row. It's always the
yeah,
way, isn't it? That there's one and then there's more.
yeah. And what you want when you get a bit of a stinker is to be able to get back on the
Yeah.
horse and
A really
and
good
start
one, yeah.
scoring. But it was unfortunate, because I think what with hang on, I'm looking at the wrong person's score here. But yeah, you got one out of the last five. Actually, if you could have kind of aced those and
And
picked
none
up
of them
another
were
one.
retrospectively, none of them were
Mm,
things that I couldn't have had a good educated guess at.
mm.
But then again, you're nervous on the show, right? Like
Yeah.
it's really easy to, I mean, I'm guilty of doing it.
Mm,
To say to obviously I now know that to never be like, oh, I could do better than that, obviously, because no,
mm,
like I understand now. But like,
mm.
yeah, no, I'm much better on the sofa, but everyone's much better on the
Yeah.
sofa.
Yeah.
That's the
I think
point.
it's one thing to say I could have done better as opposed to I
Yeah.
would have done better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Yeah. I would have, that's offensive, isn't it? Like I would have done better. Like, no, stop.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
got the same energy as looking at modern art and saying, my 5-year-old could have done that. Like it's that kind of vibe, isn't it?
yeah, that's a good example. So yeah, so that was so William worthy winner, 24
Yeah,
points, very
fantastic.
good. Um, we touched on it before we chatted. We did love Boaksy Boakes.
Oh, brilliant.
What a name, and
Yeah.
seemed an absolutely lovely woman as well. Absolutely,
Everybody was lovely. Yeah, she was fantastic. She had some really good stories. She's from. I'm not sure if she's from there, if she still lives there, but she's got some connection to the Isle of Man,
okay,
and she had some great stories about that. Yeah, she's a really cool lady.
wonderful. Would you do it again?
As in, would I go through what I just did again, or would I? Because you can. I didn't realize you can do it twice. Would I go on again with a
Yeah,
different specialist subject?
yeah, yeah. A few years
Not
down the
for
line, you
not
know.
for a while. I don't know. I mean, again, like I think I don't think I'm cut out for solo purposes in a way. Like I think I am quite nervous, hence the sorry with every pass. Um, I wouldn't rule it out. I'll
Mm,
say that much.
good. Well,
It
it
was
would be
fun.
good
It
to
was
see.
good.
Yeah, I mean, you did very well on your
Thank
first
you.
outing. I will say, first time is just reconnaissance. You know
Yeah.
the lie of the land now. You know what's
Yeah.
involved.
Uh-huh.
Um, but the only other thing is, I thought the subjects tonight were wonderfully diverse. You're Stephen Hawking, Radiohead, Theda
Yeah.
Barrow was a lovely subject.
Yeah, I like that.
Really good. And then the Sharp novels. Michael saying 22 Sharp novels, a tough challenge to get them all in. I mean, that's to learn a subject like that is just.
Mm,
I mean, I would never do books just for that reason. Of you got to read them, you got to think of all the plot points
sure.
and all the
Yeah.
quotes
Yeah.
and all that sort of thing. But yeah, fair play to Boaksy on that one. Cool. Well, I guess that's Mastermind covered and a lot of other stuff. Now, uh, folks watching, be chucking in your chat what your favorite questions were from Only Connect, because I'm going to play a couple of videos, and then at the end of that, we will start talking about Only Connect. Last week's What is the Question answer was new, and you voted this question from Richard Aubrey, the winner. In a TV series of the 1980s, what short word distinguishes Joanna Lumley and Gareth Hunt from Linda Thorson, Honor Blackman and Diana Rigg? Well done to Richard. This week's answer in need of a question is Ash, and you can now vote at tinyurl.com/WITQAsh, and voting will be open till Wednesday, when we'll then reveal the shortlist for the winner. Don't forget, you can play What is the Question yourself. We release a new answer in need of a question every Sunday morning on Facebook and Twitter. All you have to do is respond to that post with your question by Monday at 4 p.m, and then it'll go into the vote for next week. Our latest interview is with David Bodicum. Here he is talking about the pilot episodes of Only Connect.
The rounds were really in the wrong order.
Right.
They had the wall as the last round, which was silly because, of course, if one team was 11 points ahead of the others, there was no way of catching up. And it also meant that you could win and the other team were not even on the screen. Originally, it was round one, then the vowels as a sort of like a sort of a change of pace. Then it was sequences, and then it was the wall. So like me and several other people all sort of went, that's a bit wrong.
So that video came out this week. It's a great half-hour chat with David. He's been involved in shows from Treasure Hunt to Crystal Maze, founding question producer on Only Connect. He now works with Tom Scott doing a show called Lateral, or a podcast as well called Lateral. He covers all sorts of things in that interview, including how do you get involved in writing questions for TV quiz shows. So if you haven't watched it, check it out. It's a fantastic interview, even if I do say so myself. Now, Only Connect, Scrummagers versus the Croots, two lovely family teams. Now, Holly, I'm sure you were had messages and stuff going on, but I know you caught some of it.
I just want to say I really like it when it's family teams. I think that's really lovely because like one team quizzes, it's one thing to go on with like your university or whatever, but I just think it's really nice to like go do that. That must be a really special memory to have, and that's always going to be on TV as well.
I think that is right. I mean, I know when I used to play cricket, parents who would play with their child. And, I used to play, and then I had to umpire once I stopped due to injury. Yeah,
that's quite cool. I quite like cricket.
Yeah, but people who have played with like their children absolutely loved it because it was a really meaningful experience to them to share something like that. And I'm sure that's the same for the Croots, Scrummagers, and any other family team that's been on. So yeah, lovely to see them. As ever at this stage, it's a shame that anyone has to go out. Brendan has put here, loved the island sequence in round 2. So that was the one where first Eric the Red to Topless. So basically it was the largest islands going down from biggest to smallest, to fourth, with something related to them. Home of the Lemurs connection.
That's good.
I like the island sequence mainly because it was one of the very few I actually got. Chris is saying the squares one confused me a bit. Yeah, you and me both. I think I kind of understood it.
What was the squares? I saw the squares one.
So it was. It started with leg, square. So there was a leg, square leg, and then there were 4 roots, square roots, and then there was 9 brackets, and then it would 16 Charles dance faces, square dance.
Square dance.
But
it's square numbers as it goes
going
up.
Upwards,
1, 4, 9,
square
16.
2, 9, yeah. So a few things going on with that. I probably.
So it had to be. Hang on, no, surely that will be a connection rather than a sequence, right?
So this was round 2. So yeah, so the first one, square leg. There was square of 1 is 1, so 1 leg.
Okay, sure. So, but it could be.
Yeah.
But it didn't necessarily have to be square dance. It would have been anything.
It could have been anything where there were 16
so it could
of
be
them.
16 of square. I now can't think of anything that has square in it. You know, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, neither can I. But Jared said, 1, 4, 9, 16
that
different
makes
objects
sense. Okay,
and things that follow. So yeah, so it actually they
but
could.
What
they
actually
said,
followed square? That wasn't in any particular order.
No,
there's no sequence that's leg, root.
Not on its own. No.
Yeah. No. I mean, unless there is. But,
I don't know. To be fair, it was only once I started talking just then that I think I suddenly grasped it, and now I think I've lost it again. But so that one was a good one. There was, I couldn't think of skeuomorph at the time. I called them atavistic icons. There was a telephone, an envelope, a floppy disk. So it's just like modern phone icons. Catherine's saying, I've got all the bullseye missing vowels. So it's prizes on bullseye.
I like. Excellent. Nice. I like missing vowels.
Yeah.
But obviously, it is impossible if you don't know. There was one the other day, and without sounding arrogant, it was the first time that I truly had no idea. Like, you don't realize. I just thought I was good at filling in, like that my brain could see missing vowels and put the vowels in. And sometimes it's a category that I don't really know. But I can't remember what it was, but I just had no idea of any of the answers. It might have been the Michael Palin one at Christmas. And I know who Michael Palin is, and I've seen Michael Palin, but I couldn't name any of his TV shows. And it was all like Michael Palin's something. I just couldn't get any of
So
them.
like Around the World in 80 Days, Pole to Pole, Full
Pole to
Circle.
Pole, yeah, was the
Yeah.
one that I did. That, yeah, again, I feel like those I've seen, but like not consciously paid attention to.
It is interesting, isn't it? With Only Connect, particularly when it's a team of three, you would assume for most sets or connections or vowels, or when you look at the wall, that there'll be somebody in your team
Yeah.
who will kind of tune into something, particularly if
Sure.
you've got a mix of ages. But we've seen a few times this series that people, that didn't recognize car models, or they didn't recognize. Very often, if it's like characters from the Twilight series, it's like,
Sure.
if none of you watch Twilight, that's going to be a bit of a problem.
Exactly. Well, it makes their mental health better, but
But yeah, Bullseye, Bus Fare Home had to be the last one. It's just a shame it's now kind of got a little bit predictable that there's going to be three sets of missing vowels, and you don't know if there's going to be any more. Oh, here we are. John's saying, please don't remind me of the car models. So sorry, John.
That's so clever. He's left the O out of models because it's a missing vowel.
But poor John, we're
If
going to have to get him
if that was a
therapy.
typo, I just saved you there, John. You did it deliberately.
Jamie saying, anyone else think that War Boy was something else I should see the optician about? Again, that was another one, another connection I struggled with. John saying, no, he didn't. He just can't spell. There's different things though in Only Connect for different people. Michael saying, give me the knowledge-based missing vowels over the puzzly ones.
Yeah.
So tonight we had essays by, was it Francis Bacon? Can't remember. Yes, Francis Bacon, and singers and scientists with the same initials.
That's good. I hope I missed this, but I hope we had Marie Curie and Mariah Carey.
We did.
Oh, I'm so glad.
You should be writing for it, Holly.
Absolutely.
Or did you just reveal that you did? Oh.
No, I didn't. I wish I had. It's somebody in my office who I work with got the two confused, and we are all physicists, which is interesting. But it was fine. We get over it. We move. The same person got Bing Crosby confused with Bill Cosby, so it was a rough.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you don't want to be doing that.
No, as in the names, not in terms of who was who in their careers.
Who did what allegedly?
No, yeah. Bing Crosby isn't being vilified.
Not that we know of, but so now Steve is eyebrow going from west to east. Okay, I'm getting it now. I'm getting it. I think I probably spent too long noting these things down to actually think about them. Oh no, Gerard didn't spot that at all. I'm not alone then.
War by. Sorry, that's funny. I just like that.
Yeah, so there was wardrobe the right way round, and then nods down, and then clearly eyebrow right to left, and then soon up to that. So yes, that was Trixie. So there was a general knowledge one in there, which was Prime Ministers of Israel. So that would have pleased Michael. But yeah, places in Germany was the music round.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. There was one of those the other day. It was like places in somewhere. That's always good. Or like places in America.
Yeah.
States of America is always a good one.
Yeah. Well, this one hinged on recognizing the Brandenburg concertos. Because once you got that, and from Paris to Berlin, you were in
huge tune. Sorry.
Yeah. That was the number 4 tune. Yes, we had Meister Singers in Nuremberg. And,
I would have got from Paris to Berlin, and that would not be passing me by.
So yeah, and of course Michael's saying the Israeli one is out of date already because Netanyahu's prime minister again. Walls wise, scrummagers solved their walls. I did think the Croots had a tricky wall. Don't know what people think in the chat. There were a lot of red herrings in there, and I thought the personifications of countries, female personifications of countries, was a tricky connection in there because you had Columbia in there. You also had Ivy League universities. and you had
Yeah,
types of
sure.
locks. So Yale could appear in all sorts of places. Columbia could appear in all sorts of places.
Yeah,
It's
I hate those.
a tricky
I
one.
know that's the point, but it's really annoying.
Particularly,
I'm like, damn, they've done something good there. Like,
you need a little bit of luck.
yeah. And it's
But
annoying when there's like 5 of something as well, and you know that something's in like the wrong box and you don't know which one it is.
really hard to cycle around those, and then
Yeah.
in a way that
Especially
you
if you're down to stress.
would. Too many Ivy League universities, says Chris. Catherine confused Brandenburg Concerto with Handel's Water Music, which is also what one of the teams did tonight. And Meister Singers with Fountains of Rome. And Steve misreading Helvetia as Helvetica didn't help them either. No, that's true.
Well, that would have been a font, wouldn't it?
It would, but again, when you've
That's
got
Switzerland, isn't it?
when you've got only a small amount of time, you don't want to go on a little red herring.
No, sure, it's stressful, isn't it?
Yeah. So the Scrummagers won it by 2 points. Good show. Is this something, we talked about your team experience with University Challenge versus your solo one. Is this something that you would go for? Does Only Connect suit your mind?
Realistically, no. I don't think I'm good. Some days I have. It's one of those things where like it's rarely I get the old one. I'll either have an episode where I'll smash it, and then I'll have one that's. I'd like to think I'm pretty consistent at missing vowels, unless it's like something I've never heard of ever, like really niche knowledge. But yeah, I'm quite not inclined to not say I'm good at anything.
You're very self-deprecating, Holly.
No, I'm not self-deprecating. I just don't want to. I think I've been raised not to say I'm good at that. That feels like bragging. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. I think the advantage is that there's a team, right? And I think one of the things that I was told once by like our uni challenge parents, like the series from our university before us, they said, don't try and do 100% of the work. Everybody does 25% of the work.
Yeah.
And I think, I think that's, I mean, it will be 33.3% for Only Connect, but I think, yeah. And even if nobody's, I think it's kind of summative. Like if everybody's a little bit good at Only Connect, I think as a team, you can still be really good at Only Connect.
Yeah, and because people can bounce off each other as well, and which I'm sure happens in University Challenge when you're discussing bonuses. Yes. Do you feel with University Challenge, I guess, a certain amount of awareness of if you haven't buzzed in? Do you feel a need to kind of get in? Because a lot of people get judged by how many bonuses they starters they get.
I don't know. I mean, possibly if I did it again now, maybe. When I first started, so University Challenge weirdly was my kind of gateway into quiz. I'd never done anything quiz bowl before that. I'd never done any other than like a pub quiz, obviously. Was kind of my gateway in, and I didn't really know the ways of the buzzer, the ethics of the buzzer. I think one of the things that our team were told and that we decided ourselves is that we probably would have done better and possibly got further had we trained on buzzers more. So personally, no, but maybe if I did it again, knowing what I know now. But again, I mean, I don't think it's about personal glory, really, is it?
Shouldn't be.
Some people it is, right? For some people it is, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm sure they're great. But I think at the end of the day, nobody, I guess, unless you're particularly iconic, but you remember the teams, right, rather than the individuals, for better or for worse.
Yeah, no, I think there are some people who will take great pride in their own score, even if their team loses.
Absolutely. That's something I've always. That's the only thing that I didn't enjoy about University Challenge is people self-centralizing it, I guess, and people being sort of harsh on their teams.
Right.
Yeah, but no, it's all good. Everyone's happy. It's all Gucci.
Yeah, and I think everybody, kind of, it's not really even a be kind thing. It's just a be sensible thing,
Yeah.
When you're a show like that, you're under pressure, and sometimes people perform differently under pressure, and B, there's another team there who, you can know your stuff, but if they're fractionally beating you to the buzzer,
Sure, yeah,
you know,
exactly.
that's no reflection really on you.
Buzzer training is a thing. Like, to be
It
good at the
is a
buzzer is
thing.
a skill in itself.
Yeah, and people train for it for University Challenge. They train for it for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Mm,
People train now for Only Connect and practice wars and all sorts of
sure.
things. Jamie has said here, which we would agree with, Max Zhang,
Legend.
legend,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely,
What a
absolutely
hero.
brilliant player. Came on the show last year and was brilliant, hilarious. But then that whole Imperial team were just
Yeah.
so lovely. Do you ever look back on a University Challenge now and just have those kind of pangs of I wish I
Yeah,
could
it was so
go
much
back?
fun.
Yeah.
And the people, I always say, like, it's the best thing that I got out of University Challenge is the people I met.
Mm.
Just like such fantastic people.
And John, who's been in the chat today, him and his team, they went out of Only Connect last week. They were saying the same thing. None of
Yeah.
that team knew each other before they
Yeah.
applied. I think they were saying that game that we saw last week was the second time they'd all met. They'd met for
Yeah.
when they first put together, and they met for that recording block. If you come away from an experience like that with great people in your life, then whatever happens
It's a
on
bond,
in
isn't
the
it? It's
show,
almost
yeah,
like you've gone through something stressful with people. That's always
yeah,
going to be a bond.
yeah, wonderful. Now, we will just touch on University Challenge. I don't know if anybody's got any comments about UC. It felt like a very dominant performance by Robert Gordon tonight. Anderson started off like a train on the buzzer. Couple of negs later on, but Courtauld, who are a good team, never really got into the match. I think actually, I lie. First four kind of starters, they were ping ponging back and forth, but then Robert Gordon just pulled away. So there were some good individual performances and a very good Robert Gordon team performance, but perhaps not the most exciting of matches to watch. Do you find yourself, when you're watching, kind of almost being critical in any way, thinking, "Oh, come on, you should be in
No,
by now"?
no, 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 no. I think they're all better than me. I think, yeah, I guess what I struggle with is the theme tune, because I don't know, people probably talked about this, but when you're sat in there, you hear the theme tune, and that's when you know the cameras are on. So I normally tune out for that bit because that's just not the one. No, I don't think I am critical of it. I think now I really appreciate that, like, they are under a lot of stress and you don't know what's going to come up, and they're really hard questions. Like, sometimes I watch it and I think, God, did I do that? Like, I think I can do that. My favorite University Challenge line in our household was, like, this year we were watching the Christmas ones and I got a few right in a row. My mum went, "God, you should be on this."
Oh dear. That's the sort of mum you want.
Oh yeah, good one.
So we are going to just run through this week's nominations for Quizzer and Team of the Week in a second. When we come back, we will look at what people's champagne moment of the week was. So, Holly, if you can be thinking what the best moment of the night's quizzing was,
Oh,
whether it could have been
okay.
you, it could have been somebody else, could have been a question, answer,
Yeah.
witticism, could be anything.
Cool.
And if people want to put them in chat, we'll have a look at those as well. But for now, here are the nominees. This week's nominees for Quizzer of the Week are Amit D for 14 out of 15 in the Quiz World Series, Pat Gibson for winning the Quest Grand Prix, Jiang Yi for winning Episode 7 of the Chinese Geolocations Quiz Show, tonight's Mastermind winner, Ben McIntyre for winning OQL USA's Pop Solos, David Stainer for the only Quiz League London Full House of the week, Li Zhiguang for winning Episode 3 of the Chinese Geolocations Quiz Show, Liu Zhijin for winning Episode 9 of the Chinese Geolocations Quiz Show, and Guo Juan Jiang for winning Episode 8 of the Chinese Geolocations Quiz Show. And the nominees for Team of the Week are Bishop's Fist for beating top-of-the-table Barb in Quiz League London Division 3B, Chris, Nick and Paul for winning the All Things Quiz Members Quiz, Manos Castro for top scoring in Quiz Nations Portugal, More Porkians for winning Only Connect on the 2nd of January, tonight's Only Connect winners, Royal Holloway and Bedford New College for winning University Challenge on the 2nd of January, and tonight's University Challenge winners. You can now vote online at tinyurl.com/QW09Jan, and we will announce the winners on Friday. So there are your nominees. Obviously, we didn't know at the time of recording who tonight's winners were, but they will be in the vote by name. So you can check them out. You may have noticed there's a few nominees from the Chinese geolocation quiz show.
I was just about to ask, am I being really ignorant? But I also really want to know, what is the Chinese geolocations quiz show?
Well, this is the thing. China doesn't really have a quiz circuit like we have or anything like that. What it does have is some incredibly high-profile quizzes that tend to be on quite a narrow theme. So this, I've not seen this geolocation one, although I've been sent a link. But we've got a member, All Things Quiz member, he's one of our patrons from Ningbo in China. He's sent in these nominations. But there's also a Chinese poetry competition that's on this show, and Treasures of China. So they take kind of quite niche.
So you win by writing the best poem, or
no, they're being quizzed on Chinese poetry through history, and it is the production values of it. These shows are huge. It's really quite something to watch these things. Unfortunately, you can get a sense of what's happening by watching it, but without English subtitles, it's you certainly can't play along. But major things in China, and you know, if we nominate Mastermind, why wouldn't we nominate people for winning?
I think it sounds great.
Shows. Yeah. So
how do you play the geolocation quiz?
I haven't seen this one. I in my mind, I hope it's something like GeoGuessr, where you navigate around a map.
Geography.
Yeah, it's got to be something geography related. Yeah, I'll try and share. I might put a link in the description.
Well, interestingly, I know that China and Google Maps don't get on. I don't know if you guys know about this, but China, when you go on Google Maps in China, so let's say you're going to Tesco. I don't know if they have Tesco in China. I don't think they have Tesco in China. Let's say you're going to Tesco, and there'll be like a pin on the map that says this is Tesco, and you go there, and Tesco's not there. The Tesco exists, but that's not its location. So they restrict their geographic data, and they offset each position on the GPS by like a random amount.
Oh,
I don't know why. I think that there must be a reason why they do it, but there is, So it's, I think, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that there is like a Chinese government mandated or owned, won't be called Google Maps, but it'll be like its own thing, which will obviously be more accurate and actually give you the data, but they don't give Google accurate data.
Well, everything's a learning moment right now. And so I will put a link to the Chinese geolocation quiz in the description.
Will be watching.
and we will check it out, because this could be the new internet sensation. So thanks to Yi for nominating that. Michael Champagne Moment says, anytime we get a question on Middlesbrough, automatic Champagne Moment, though we'll probably have to wait another 10 years for the next one after a million questions on London. Does Champagne Moment have to relate to quizzes discussed, or can I nominate Jasmine Harmon guessing a year and getting it spot on in tonight's House of Games? Yeah, any quiz, anything. Throw it in. Jamie saying Fregenet getting polymerase team player. Yeah. Stuck out on the end of the 4, but chipping in meaningfully when he needed to. Brendan, Robert Gordon must be in the running to win. They're very solid and quick with it. Yeah, they were great. Gerard's chipped in with a House of Games thing. So so good. Keep the thoughts coming in. Holly, your experience now, obviously, kind of if you'd have been victorious and your lap around the studio would have been kind of your champagne moment. But what was your takeaway from tonight, or from your experience
in general? Just the whole takeaway.
And champagne moment within that.
I think my champagne moment would be William winning. He was fantastic. He just absolutely aced his specialist subject. His general knowledge was really good.
Mm.
And he was a really lovely guy as well, and really sort of humble. And no, I don't think
Mm.
any of us were really thinking any of us were going to win. But no, I think that would be my champagne moment because he really deserved it, and he was really, really good.
Oh.
Yeah, it was
And
great.
for you, your takeaway in general from the experience?
It was fun. I had fun, and I did better than I thought I would. So
Yeah,
all the good stuff.
that's good. That's good. So not traumatized is always a good place to
Yes.
be.
Maybe if I got to the final, I would be leaving sort of shaking and crying.
Your PhD would definitely not be getting written
Oh
up at
yeah,
that
no, I'd be getting sent down. The Viva would not be pretty.
point. I'm actually really not sure what mine is tonight. I enjoyed all the shows. I'm just looking back at my notes. I'm struggling to think of something that really jumped out at me. I think probably it I guess it's between Mastermind and an OC particularly, but just the kind of the players. I really enjoyed watching all of the teams just going at it, playing well, playing hard, being enjoyable whilst doing it. Particularly in OC, you got more scope for kind of
Mm.
um, being kind of chatty or jokey. Actually, thinking about it, I do think it's going to be your kind of apology and thank yous to Clive. I think because
I
that
love
did
it.
tickle me. I did like
He's
your
good.
politeness. So I think that was nice too. Because again, it's very easy to kind of forget people are human,
Sure.
or people when you're watching something like
Yeah.
that, and that gave the human touch. Chris is saying his champagne moment. Either a nice to have an X-ray specs question that was in um, Only Connect, I think,
I missed
and
that. I like X-ray specs.
Chiswick House for a bit of London content, which was Chiswick House. That might have been Mastermind. I can't remember now. All merges into one after a
Yeah,
period.
I was gonna say. After a couple of weeks, well, you're like, which was which week?
Yeah. So that is it for this week then. Thank you so much for coming on,
That's
Holly.
all
It's
right.
been
Thank you for having me.
absolutely delightful. I told you beforehand that this was going to be a short one because there was only you, but we've
I didn't
managed
think
to.
I'd be the only one. I'm impressed that I haven't
Yeah.
had a meltdown. That's fine. It's okay.
You've been an absolute delight,
Thank you.
and we've got into discussion areas that who would have predicted
I think
the
100%
100%
should have a rerun.
chat. Steve is saying really enjoyed the chat tonight. Thanks, Holly and Gareth. Thank you, everybody who's watched, for watching, and we really appreciate that. Don't forget to vote in What Is a Question at tinyurl.com/WITQAsh. Don't forget to vote for Quizzer and Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/QW09Jan. We will be back next week, but in between now and then, we've got the World Quiz Awards on Sunday night at 8 p.m. We've got a couple of guests coming on, but I can announce exclusively that we will have the reigning World Quiz Champion, Victoria Gross, coming on from America. She is one of the chasers on the Chase America. She will be coming along to help present the show. So look forward to that. Tune in live on Sunday. Don't forget to get your vote in if you haven't voted yet, and to confirm your vote, check your spam filter if you haven't confirmed your vote by return. Until next week, have an absolutely fantastic week of quizzing and life in general, and we will see you again same time, same place. Goodbye.